Hey curious minds, welcome back to Fun Philosophy for Kids. Let's play a little game. I'll ask you a question, and you try to answer without thinking. Ready? Why is the sky blue? Why do cats purr? Why do people argue even when they both want to be happy? See what happened? You probably paused for a second, and that pause is where philosophy begins. Philosophy isn't about memorizing names or reading dusty old books. It's about that tiny moment when your brain says, wait a minute, why? Thinking is like breathing for your mind. You can live without doing it consciously, but once you start paying attention, everything feels more alive, more colorful, and much more interesting. Now, let's imagine a world where no one ever stopped to think. People would believe everything they heard, follow every rule blindly, and repeat the same mistakes forever. If someone said, the moon is made of cheese, everyone would just nod and plan a picnic on it. That's why thinking isn't just something we can do, it is something we must do to make sense of our world. Kids are actually natural philosophers. They just don't know it yet. When a little kid asks, why do I have to sleep? Or who decided what's right and wrong? They're not being annoying, they're doing philosophy. They're questioning the world, not to be rude, but because they're trying to understand it. And honestly, grown-ups sometimes forget how powerful that kind of curiosity really is. Thinking helps us see patterns and meaning behind things. When you notice that your best friend always laughs before saying something serious, your brain connects the dots. When you realize that being kind feels better than being right, your mind grows a little wiser. Thinking lets you look at life through different lenses, like switching from black and white TV to full HD color. The Greek philosopher Socrates, one of the wisest minds in history, believed that asking questions was the best way to learn. He didn't walk around giving people long lectures. He just kept asking why, and you know what? He often made people realize they didn't understand what they thought they knew. So maybe the smartest thing you can do isn't to know everything, it's to never stop wondering. Let's try another example. You see a cookie on the table. A regular kid might grab it and eat it right away. But a philosopher kid might stop and think, do I really want this cookie, or do I just like the idea of having something sweet? That small question turns a snack into a lesson about desire, happiness, and even self-control. Pretty amazing, right? Thinking also helps us when things get confusing or emotional. When you feel angry at your friend, your first thought might be to shout or walk away. But when you stop and think, why am I angry? Is it because I feel hurt or left out? That thought gives you power over your emotions. Philosophy doesn't tell you what to feel, it helps you understand what you feel. Some people think philosophers just sit around thinking all day. But in truth, thinking makes life more exciting, not boring. When you think, you notice the tiny details everyone else misses, like how time feels slower when you're bored, or why laughter spreads so quickly in a group. Thinking turns everyday moments into mysteries waiting to be explored. It also keeps you safe from being tricked. When you learn to question things, you stop believing everything you see online or hear from others. You begin to ask, is that really true? Where did that information come from? What's the evidence? That's called critical thinking, and it's one of the most important skills in the world because it protects your mind just like a helmet protects your head. Thinking can also be kind. When you take a moment to understand why someone behaves a certain way, you stop judging and start empathizing. Maybe your classmate isn't rude, maybe they're just shy or nervous. When you think before reacting, you build bridges instead of walls. Philosophy helps you become not only smarter, but also more compassionate. And here's something even cooler. Thinking doesn't always give you answers. Sometimes it gives you more questions, and that's okay. Each question opens a new door, and each door leads to another hallway of curiosity. You might start with why is the sky blue? And end up asking why do humans love beauty? That's the adventure of thinking. It never really ends, it just keeps getting deeper. Let's face it, thinking is what makes us human. Animals react, but humans reflect. We can imagine, wonder, doubt, and dream. We can turn a simple question into a lifetime of discovery. When we think, we don't just live, we understand what living means. So next time someone says, "Stop asking so many questions," you can grin and say, "I'm not being annoying, I'm practicing philosophy." Because every why you ask is a tiny spark that keeps your mind glowing bright. So remember, thinking isn't a chore, it's a superpower. It helps you see the invisible, question the obvious, and even laugh at the mysterious. Ask like a kid, answer like a philosopher, and you'll never run out of things to wonder about. And in our next adventure, we'll take that curiosity one step further. We'll ask one of the biggest questions of all: who am I? Get ready to explore your mind, your identity, and what makes you truly unique. Because once you start thinking deeply, the world becomes a lot more magical.